Let's start with the essentials. You're not as good as you think, but that doesn't matter because they don't need to know that. You don't need applause, not respect, not even fear. All you need is to be underestimated. That's the first step. Were you taught to be strong? To face your enemies with your head held high? Then they taught you to lose, because real power isn't shown, it's hidden. Enemies aren't confronted, they're studied, surrounded, extinguished. And if you can do it without even laying a finger on them, you've won without ever playing. But before we get there, let me ask you something. How many people right now would stab you in the back if they knew they'd get away with it? Don't answer. You already know. And still, you smile. You share. You give them access to your thoughts, your emotions, even your doubts, because they told you that being authentic is the best way to connect. But connect with who? With people waiting for your weakest moment to validate their worth. By watching you fall, they lied to you. Showing your cards isn't brave, it's a mistake. It lets others play you before you ever get to play them. And yes, this is about Machiavelli, but not the one you see quoted in cheesy self-help books. I'm talking about the real Machiavelli, the one who watched, who stayed silent, who never forgave, who knew power isn't about forcing people to obey. It's about making yourself indispensable. Because destroying an enemy doesn't always mean killing them. Sometimes it's just removing their options, their allies, their voice, and the darkest part, they won't even realize you were the reason behind their fall. Sometimes the most devastating strike is no strike at all. Just let them dance in their illusion of safety, while you quietly unravel every thread holding them up. Want to know how? Not with force, but with emotional intelligence, with surgical patience, with a smile that hides intent, and courtesy that disarms. Because the most devastating cruelty is the one no one sees. No blood, no evidence, just ruins. Now think, why is revenge so tempting, yet so hard to pull off without consequences? Because we were trained to react, not to calculate, to explode, not to manipulate, but the one who moves in silence, who strikes from the shadows, becomes invincible. You never see it coming. You never know where the cut came from. Only that, suddenly, you're bleeding inside. That's the perfect victory, not the one you celebrate. The one no one even notices. Machiavelli said it plainly. The end justifies the means. But most people repeat that line like a quote on a coffee mug. They don't understand it. The message isn't about morals, it's about strategy. When the end matters enough, even betrayal becomes a virtue. If you keep playing by the rules, honor, transparency, visible goodness, then get ready to be eaten alive by those who already know the truth. Life isn't fair. It's ruthless. And only those who adapt survive, not the ones trying to fix the terrain. There's a twisted beauty in seeing someone who hated you, betrayed you, tried to sink you, come back, needing your help. But that doesn't happen with quick revenge. Takes time. You build the scenario, you plant the doubt. You become the one no one attacks because no one knows exactly what you're doing or what side you're on. That's the art. Blur yourself until they can't draw a straight line to you, even if deep down, they know it's you. And you, reading this, you've had that thought, that dark, quiet fantasy of destroying someone. Don't deny it. You just never knew how to do it, without getting your hands dirty, without leaving evidence. That's where this comes in. This isn't revenge, it's redemption. It's reclaiming control, without stepping into the mud. Because there's something far more powerful than harming someone, making them destroy themselves, while believing it was their own idea. You don't need to make noise, no warnings, no threats. The most dangerous enemies are the ones you don't know you have, and you can become one of them. Invisible, precise, impenetrable. Want advice? Stop talking, stop explaining, stop justifying yourself. Every word is a clue, and every clue weakens you. Observe more, listen more. Let them speak, People reveal their strategies when they think you're not a threat. That's when you win, when they believe they've already won. Because the ego, it always talks too much, and all you have to do is be there to hear it. Golden. Rule: never strike back when they expect it. Let them think they got you. Let them lower their guard, make them believe they've won. Be water, be fog, be smoke. Nothing disorients more than silence, because everyone expects a reaction, and when you don't give one, their world starts to shake. They ask themselves, why isn't he responding? Is she planning something? Does he already know everything? Is this under control? That doubt is your poison, because once an enemy starts looking over their shoulder, they stop looking ahead. And that's when they fall, all by themselves. You know the most addictive part of this? It doesn't take violence, it takes intelligence, patience, and above all, a massive capacity to endure silence. That's the hardest part. Not acting when you want to, not speaking when you're right, not proving yourself when they demand evidence. Silence isn't weakness. It's contained power, and only the truly strong can hold it. Most people think winning means defeating, but Machiavelli, he'd tell you something else. Winning is never having to fight. It's placing your pieces so precisely. The conflict never even starts, because they've already lost. And to do that, you need to accept one brutal truth. The easiest enemy to destroy is the one who believes they have none. So never confront them directly. Just feed their arrogance. Let them talk. Let them relax. While you build, quietly, without noise, without a name. Want absolute control? Make your enemy trust you. Nothing destroys more than betrayal they never saw coming. But to pull that off, you need emotional discipline, surgical coldness, no pity, no anger, no pride, because every uncontrolled emotion is a crack in your armor, and you can't afford cracks. We're not playing to defeat, we're playing to dominate, to own the entire board, and that only happens with a strategy so clean. It looks like you were never even there. Now tell me, would you rather be remembered for your screams, or feared for your silence, visible, but weak, or invisible, and decisive? The difference between real power and the illusion of power is simple. Real power never announces itself, it's only felt. And you, if you do this right, you become the thing no one sees, but everyone feels. A ghost, a whisper, a presence that can't be touched, but weighs on every decision. Welcome to the real game of power, the one that's won without getting dirty, the one played with the mind, the game Machiavelli designed, not for the brave, but for the patient. And you, if you've made it this far, you've already started playing. Now listen closely, because what comes next isn't theory. It's the key that separates the amateur from the strategist. If you already know that power is invisible, if you understand it's won by control, not by force, then it's time to unlock the most subtle, most effective dimension of dominance. Perception. Not how you see things, but how they see you. Because in this game, it doesn't matter who you really are, it only matters who they think you are. Here's the twist. You don't have to be powerful. You just have to seem untouchable. Perception is everything. No one attacks what they don't understand. No one challenges the one who radiates absolute certainty. Why do you think some leaders, even when they're lost, still hold control? Because they've mastered the art of image. It's not vanity, it's survival. Weakness is only dangerous when it's visible, even if you're trembling inside. Your gaze must never waver. Your posture, firm. Your words, precise. This isn't about sincerity. It's about strategy. Every interaction is a chance to condition, to plant an idea, to install a narrative that works in your favor. And this is where most people lose. Because they think power is imposed, but in reality, power settles in the mind of the other. You don't need to say you're strong. Just act like your strength is obvious, non-negotiable, undeniable, without a single explanation. Silence, again, your greatest ally. While others explain their moves, you just make them. No warnings, no justifications, no decoration. That confuses them, unsettles them, disorients them. Want to be truly impenetrable? Don't let anyone fully understand how you think. Make them wonder. Are you agreeing with them? Or planning their downfall? Keep your mind unreadable. Maintain calculated ambiguity, because predictability is a weakness. An enemy who knows your next move has already won half the game. But if you make them doubt, if they're unsure whether you're an ally or a threat, then they're already dancing to your tune. This isn't manipulation, it's precision. Psychological precision. You're not lying. You're writing a narrative. Authoring your character. Machiavelli knew this. Men in general judge more by the eye than the hand. They see who you seem to be, not who you are. So decide who you'll be, on the surface, and hide the rest, because the less they know about you, the more power you hold. Mystery isn't decoration, it's a shield. If they don't know what drives you, they can't attack it. If they don't know what you want, they can't block it. If they don't know where you're from, they can't predict where you're going. The void is your camouflage, doubt, your weapon. And here's something darker, but even more effective. Learn to use their desire against them, because every enemy wants something. They want to win, to shine, to be admired. And that hunger, it blinds them. Let them speak. Let them think you're on their side. Feed their delusion. Let them believe they are leading. Let them think the plan is theirs, that you're just following. And just when they're most confident, when they think they've won, you make your move, quietly, cleanly, without a trace. The ground disappears beneath them. And you're just a shadow passing by. Because no one tells you this, but the best trap is the one your enemy sets without even knowing it. And you just help them build it, with small words planted at just the right moment, with gestures that don't look intentional but shift their choices, with silences so deep they fill them with their own fears. That's not manipulation. That's control. That's applied psychology, and in case you didn't know, everyone is running from something. Pride, insecurity, fear of being forgotten, fear of being surpassed. You become the mirror, the one that shows them what they don't want to see. You don't need to attack, just reflect. Let them run from their own shadow, even if it means they run straight into the place you've been leading them to all along. This kind of power doesn't feel like triumph. There are no ovations, no applause, no medals, but it's more addictive than all of them, because you live every day knowing you pull the strings, and no one knows. They can't take it from you, because they don't even know it exists. But don't confuse this with coldness. This isn't cruelty for pleasure. It's discipline. It's about keeping yourself out of reach, because the moment you move from emotion, you've already lost. You can't afford to act from anger, from pride, or revenge. You only move for one reason: strategy. Every step must serve a purpose, not your feelings, your goal. If it doesn't bring you closer, it's a distraction, period. And if there's one truth you need to absorb today, it's this: the enemy isn't always out there. Sometimes it lives inside you, in your impulse to prove yourself, in your need for approval, in your addiction to being right. That's the real enemy. Because while you chase validation, you hand over control. Attention is leverage. So learn to dominate silence while they chase noise. They fight visible enemies. You master the invisible. One's all because true power doesn't need witnesses. It only needs results. And when you break free from that need to be seen, to be acknowledged, you become untouchable. Machiavelli, if he lived today, would say it like this: don't seek justice. Seek advantage. Don't ask for forgiveness. Negotiate power. Don't shout your truth. Let it dominate. Truth doesn't need defenders. It just needs room. And when you control the environment, everything else falls into place. So from now on, watch who tries to fight you. Ask yourself, Why do they feel the need to attack? What do you project that unsettles them so deeply? What hidden crack of theirs are you touching simply by existing? Then, smile. Because when an enemy reveals themselves, they're not exposing you. They're exposing their own weaknesses. And if you stay in control, you've already won, without ever making a move. Remember this. The power that's unseen can never be destroyed, because you can't fight what you can't name, and you are becoming just that, an intangible presence, a silent influence, a faceless authority. You don't need revenge. You only need time, because everything eventually collapses under its own weight. Just make sure you're watching from above when it does. This is where it all converges, where masks meet, where silence screams, where every gesture, every word that once seemed casual was calculated. If you've made it this far, you're no longer playing the same game as the others, because while they scream for attention, you've already taken control, quietly, completely. And now comes the most interesting part, the twist that turns theory into weapon. You must learn to disappear, not as escape, but as strategy. Because when you disappear, you leave no reference, no target, no definition. And in that void, they begin to build versions of you, versions that fear you, that respect you, that whisper about you in rooms you've never entered. None of them are real, but all of them serve you, because the more mystery you generate, the more space you occupy in their minds. And in this world, mental presence is more powerful than physical presence. Think about it. When someone cuts off contact, it's not the silence that hurts. It's what you imagine the silence means. That's the key. You don't need to act. Just let others fill the voids with their own fears. The most powerful enemy isn't the one who shouts. It's the one you think about even in their absence. That's why you must disappear at the perfect moment. Not when you're losing, but when they think they're winning. That's when disorientation hits. When your silence becomes louder than any speech, because not knowing is always worse than knowing. And now, the final piece, the closing move. It's not a phrase, not a gesture. It's absolute calm, sitting with the certainty that the board spins as you left it, that the pieces are still moving, even though you're no longer on stage, because when done right, you leave behind delayed effects. And that is the closest thing to immortality one can achieve without fame, without scandal. So yes, you can win. You can defeat them without touching them, without shouting, without getting dirty. You just need to think like they never could, move where they don't dare, live in that terrain that has no name, but where everything is decided. So I'll ask you one last time. Are you ready to play without showing your cards? To let them underestimate you while you take the board? Because if you've made it this far, you're no longer just anyone. You're one of the few, the ones who don't fight in the dirt, but watch from the hill. And from there, the war looks very different. Leave a comment. Silence is not emptiness. It is strategy. Let me see who's still with me in the shadows, and subscribe. Not for me, for you, because here we don't come for comfort. We come to wake up, activate the bell. Because what's coming won't be gentle. And now I won't say goodbye. That word is for those who leave. I just step back. So you think I'm gone. But when you forget, I'll return. And you won't know if it was me, or just the consequence of your own mistakes. See you in the shadows.